Welcome back, folks. Today we're going to make a video of our first program with Xojo. It is a um, computer programming language that is very close to BASIC. Mentioned before that I really like BASIC, and Xojo is one of the closest. I know there's Visual Basic. Visual Basic obviously very close to BASIC, and obviously VB.NET, but I think VB.NET in its own is its own language, to tell you the truth. Um, I like Xojo because you can make desktop applications, web applications, console applications, and you can make programs for iOS and even Raspberry Pi, even though it doesn't show here. And we're gonna, as I'm working on this program. This program, normally for the first time when we do a program in any programming language, we like to do the hello world. You probably seen this in many places because, and probably some of my posts as well. Hello world is like our, okay, we're here, we did a program. Uh, this is going to be called my first program, however, even though here it says hello world. I just want to show the screen of what Xojo looks like on an Apple Mac. Uh, you have your navigator, you have your layout editor, and then you have your library or property inspectors. I'm going to open up Xojo and I'm going to make a program from scratch. Um, this program's gonna make do a few things. It's gonna do some loops. It's gonna do some conditions, some if else's. We'll have some printing on the screen and all that. It'll be a little more than Hello World, but it'll show some of the aspects of this programming language and why I like it. Because, like I said, it's basic. This is really as close as I've gotten to basic, and this is a platform that works on both Windows and Mac. Even though I'll be using a Mac, it'll work on Windows as well. So it's really powerful and easy to use. So uh, I hope you enjoy the video and let's get started. All right, so here we are. When you start Xojo the first time, it'll ask you if you want to open up an existing file or if you want to create a new one. Obviously, it will ask you here on the left. We can see what it will ask you. What kind of project do you want to do? Do a desktop, a web, console, etc. And then here on the right, is where you put your application name, and then you have your company name and your identifier. We will not have a company name or identifier for now, and the application is going to be called My First Program. And again, it could be anything you want. I just choose this name because it's the first time we'll do a program here. And so let's go ahead and click create. Okay, so once you once you create the file, Xojo will respond with a window like this. It shows basically three main parts. Well, there's more components in this than three parts, but I see it as three parts. The first one is a Windows Explorer, a File Explorer, if you will. It's a Project Explorer is actually a more proper name. You have the parts here. You would see the elements that your program will have, and it also asks you where is it going to work. Is it on Windows, on Mac, on Linux? You know, you have your layout window. This is where you actually create your program. You can see this my window, and I can resize it as needed. There's a ribbon here. Excuse me. There's a run and a build. And then here's my library of icons, and you can see there's a lot of icons that I can put in there. And these all do things. There's lists, there's buttons, there's labels, there's text fields, and the list goes on. And for every one, including the window itself, you can do the inspector, which is the properties of each one of the elements. The name of this window is window one. The default says title and title. I can adjust this to my first program. And as soon as I hit enter or return, it changes it to my first program. Here are some buttons. I can say I want my program to have a close button or not. You know, I can allow it to be resized or not. That's, you know, it's up to me. It all depends on the needs, your needs requirements, right? Your whatever, maybe your program requires that you don't resize it because maybe your elements are stuck to a specific part of the window, or maybe you do want to resize it. You know, it's up to you. Uh, I want to demonstrate a few things in this my first program. I don't want to do a hello world. Obviously, I can just do a message box and say hello world, but instead, I want to do several things here. So the best way that I thought I could do this is by adding this element here. It's called a tab panel. And when you do a tab panel, you do your tab panel like this, and I can go to the inspector and I can edit the properties of my tab panel. Now, I don't want to change the name of the tab panel. You can, of course, but my one of my rules is if something's not going to change no matter what, I probably don't want to change the name. I want to leave it to defaults. What I do want to change is the tabs. However, the name says tab 0 and tab 1. I can edit the the panels here, and I can delete them and add my own. Where the first one will be called variables. I'm going to add a color. I'm going to add date and time. And I'm going to add decisions. And I hope I'm spelling correctly. And then loops. And when I click OK, now I have my tabs right here. And you can do is you saw how I just click on edit and it automatically allow me to change the panels. My program doesn't do anything. There is no code on my program. All I have is this panel right here. I'm going to add one more element before I do anything. Is this right here, which is a button. I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to change it. I'm not going to change the name of it. I could, but I'm just going to change it to exit program. And you can see that it doesn't fit right there, so I can resize the button. Now, again, nothing here. Now, what if I want to start adding code? Because my program will do something, and if I click, I'm going to go ahead and click run, and it's going to do a window where I have all these tabs and a button that doesn't do anything. And the only way to stop this program is by clicking this button right here that showed up because I'm running my environment. So it doesn't do anything. But in a more realistic scenario, obviously we want the exit program to exit. So to add code, we double click on the element. I'm going to double click on exit program. And it's going to ask me for what event? Well, for press. So in other words, when I click on the button, I want it to do something. And in Xojo, we just type in quit and that will do the job. Now remember this Explorer over here? I can go back to window and there's my window. Now, what is the difference? Now I can click on run. And this time, if I click exit program, it ends the program. Great, we added a single line of code which ends the program. But what in reality have we done with the program? Well, nothing much really. We have tabs that don't do anything. So let's start with the variables. What do we want to do there? So I want to add some labels. I want to add 4 types of variables. So I'm going to add some labels, and here are my labels, and I'm just going to put them anywhere I want. Again, if the label is not going to do anything, you don't really need to change the name. So this one it says label 1, label 2, label 3, and label 4. And I'm looking at this part right here. They don't do anything. Now, there are programs, and then you probably have seen them where they says, hey, you can go to configuration and change the colors of your screen and your backgrounds and your font colors and all that. If that was the case, I would give each label a name. That way, when someone goes into configuration and changes the colors, I can know exactly which label I need to go change the color on. But in this particular case, I'm not going to do anything with this. I'm just going to leave the labels as is. And now what I am going to change is what it says here. Text is what it says on title. For the first one, I'm going to put the word integer. So int integer. For the second, I'm going to type the word double. Then I'm going to put in string. And for the last one, I'm gonna do a Boolean. So far, this is what it is. It doesn't do anything other than it displays these labels with that particular text. Now, I want to add uh, 4 more labels, right? Uh, and I'm gonna put it next to these. So I'm gonna go to my library and I'm gonna add 4 more labels. But these labels are going to change because I'm gonna give them a specific value. I'm gonna go ahead and leave them like that. I'm gonna leave them with their untitled. In fact, well, actually, I can get rid of the untitled, or I can do something. But I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna go to the first one. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. I need a value of an integer, so I'm gonna do the number 13. So now remember, this is text, okay? Text. It says right here, text, but it is an integer. The difference between an integer and a double is that a double has a decimal point. So I'm going to do 3.25. It's a double. Now, again, this is text, right? But I'm representing a double. For my string, I can do something like hello world. And for my Boolean, I'm gonna do something like true. So Boolean values can only be true or false. Strings can be any text. Doubles will have, a value of with a decimal point, and integers don't have decimals. But I do want to give these a name. The reason is I'm going to actually obtain the values from these integers and from these doubles and from these strings. I need them. So I'm going to give them a name that makes some sense. So I'm going to go here where it says name, and I'm going to call the first one LBL integer. The second one I'm going to call LBL double. Again, you want to give them a name that's meaningful in one way. LBL string and LBL Boolean. Okay, so I got now 4 labels that do absolutely nothing, and 4 they have values. Again, they do absolutely nothing. Now, I need yet one more set of labels. So I'm going to go to my library, and I'm going to, you notice how I'm moving this and it puts those blue lines. It is aligning them. So I'm just going to put this one here, and I'm going to make it this big only because I can. I'm gonna do the same with this one. See how it aligns to both that one and that one. And when I'm resizing, look how it's gonna, yeah, there, right there. That means now it's the same size as this other one. So I'm doing that for each one of the additional labels. And I'm going to give this also a meaningful name. I'm gonna call this LBL integer result. And I'm gonna call this LBL double result. And this one will be LBL string result. And finally, obviously, LBL Boolean result. Okay, so I got 4 labels that mean nothing but have a value, 4 that have a name and have a value as well. This is the type, this is the value, and this one just says untitled, but I actually have a name. And I need to do something, but what am I going to do? So I'm going to get a button again, go to my library, I'm going to click on a button, and I'm going to put it right there. And I don't need to change the name of the button, but I do need to type in to do something like click me. Now, so far so good. If I run this, by the way, I'm going to run it. You can see that my program has the integer 13, it says untitled. Click me doesn't do anything. If I click on the other tabs, notice how they don't have anything, but I go back to variables, and there it is. And of course, I can exit program, which it does is actually the only line with code at this point. But I want click me to do something with these untitled labels. So I'm going to go ahead and double click me. When press, what do I want to do? Now this is actually some code that we're going to type. So we're going to do some variables. I'm going to variable I as integer, and I'm going to give it an initial value. And the initial value will be the LBL integer dot text, right? Because that's the value. And then I'm going to do something here called to integer. And that means that variable I will be declared as an integer, and I'm going to get the value from this label, LBL integer, the text field, the text part, and I'm going to convert it to integer. Okay. So you notice that when I'm doing this, it changed it right here is telling me string to integer extends as string as integer. So it will return an integer and give it to the variable I. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do D as double because it's a double equals LBL double dot text dot to double, right? Similarly, boolean s as variable s as string, and this one LBL string dot text. I don't need to convert it because it's already a text field, right? And I'm doing is declaring 4 variables. Now, var b as boolean, and I'm not going to give it an initial value. I'm just going to leave it like that. By the way, here, if I want to do some comments, I can do variable declaration, and now I can go to calculations, and obviously when I put the apostrophe, that means it's a comment, so ignore all this. I have 4 variables declared. 3 of them have values, 1 does not. So now let's do calculate. We can do I equals I plus 10. I can do D equals D plus, I don't know, 4.3, I guess, or 6.34, I guess. We can do that. Doesn't really matter. S will equals S. Remember, S is next string plus, and welcome to Xojo. There we go. And now it is time to make a decision. Now, I do have one of the tabs was for decision making, but I'm going to go ahead and add one here for my Boolean. So I'm going to do if LBL Boolean dot text equals true, then B equals false. I'm sorry, true. I want to do that. Else B equals false. False, I spell it. And if. Now B will have a value. If it says true, which I believe it does, it'll be true. Otherwise, it's false. Now let's do some printing or displaying. I should say displaying results on the screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is LBL integer results dot text equals I dot to string. Just how I did over here to integer, I can do the opposite and do to string. LBL double dot result dot text equals D dot to, and it's not case sensitive, but I'm doing this just so that you can see that it's there. I'm going to do LBL string result dot text equals S. I don't need to do any conversion. And finally, another way to do an if statement here, different way to do if statements in Xojo. Check this out. LBL Boolean result dot text equals, and this is something unique to this language, if, and I'm going to put B, comma, true, comma, false, and close it. How this works is I'm saying, look, this is an if statement, and I'm gonna evaluate B. If B, which is true in this case, put the word true, otherwise put the word false. And this doesn't have to be the text, it could be a whole formula here and a different formula over here. You know, if something is negative, if, and then I do an evaluation, if some calculation was negative, then comma, do a formula, comma, do another formula, right? So something like that. Let's see if I don't have any syntax errors. So I'm going to run this. And here is my, I have already some errors. So there they are. LBL double result text equals D to string. Look at that. Why did I do that? So I'm going to click me. And here it is string. See? And LBL double result dot text equals D dot to string. And oh, see how it says here this item does not exist. And let's see. LBL double. There we go. And we'll do that again. And here it is. Integers 13 through 25, hello world true. Click on click me. And it changes because I added 10. I added 634 to that. Hello world, welcome to Xojo. And true, it is true. And I can exit the program. So we got our first tab. And again, I can go on, I can double click this to see the code, or I can obviously see how it highlighted this. And if I click on press, it also shows me the code. And I don't edit my programs. If I have a syntax error, I leave it there. So you can see that I'm a human. I'm not a robot. I don't claim to know it all at not even the least. So how do we check color? We're gonna, for this, what I thought we would do is add a button here. This button will be my click me. So let's go ahead and type that caption click me. Right. And it won't do much other than a few lines of code. But then I figured, well, how can I do that? Remember, I mentioned that labels don't have names, or I could give them names. I could change the color, but I didn't want to do something like that. Instead, I wanted to do something like this, like an oval. So I'm going to select an oval here. By default, this oval doesn't have anything. It's just a circle. And if we go to inspector, it's called oval 1. So if I do click me and press, now I can go to the code. I'm going to declare variable C as color. This is also something new in Xojo that is not normal, regular, basic, because you cannot declare colors because you didn't have them, right? I'm going to B as Boolean, and C will equals color dot RGB 0,0,0. That is the original color that we're gonna have. And then what I'm going to do here, you can always, obviously you can see that I'm gonna give this oval a color. The question is, how do I want to do it? Do I want to give it a color, or do I want the user to give it a color? And I thought it would be nice to just give the user that ability. And so for you to see how easy it is. So I'm going to do color dot select from, make sure I don't have spellings, dialog. And it's going to be C is my variable because it's declared as a color, comma, and then I'm going to type select color. And then I'm going to do oval one dot fill color equals Z. And that's it. It's very simple. Not a lot of lines here. Now we go here. Here's my variables. If I click now, before we do that, here we have a syntax error. It says item does not exist. Select from dialog C, comma, select color. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to color. Okay, this is oval one. Go to click me. And here is B. And I know color is not, that's not the problem. I'll tell you that right now. Select from dialog. Selected from dialog. I'm terrible at this, my friends. Let's do this again. And now I have no errors. Again, I can click me. Here we go. Change these values. Go to color. Now notice how it defaults to these values. I'm going to do click me. And here is my colors. And I can do any color that I want. Doesn't really matter what color I want. When I exit this, boom, it changes the color. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go to red. Boom, it changes the color. And I can exit the program. And see, that's all it is. I'm going to go and so I have C is a variable of type color, which is unique. Again, they don't have this normally. And B is just a Boolean variable. So C defaults to 000, red, green, and blue. And B, which is Boolean, will return the selected from dialog, right? Color dot selected from dialog. And then I have select color. And then I'm telling, hey, look at your oval and make it that color right there. Pretty straightforward, right? Pretty easy. Okay, now let's do a little bit of date and time. So I was thinking, what can I do here? Now, I don't want to get too complicated. My next video, my next Xojo program will be on loops, and I'll get into random numbers and intervals and how to calculate times, especially to see what kind of elements things do more faster and all that. But here I want to do something more simple. And I thought, well, you know what? How about we calculate the age you will be this year? So to do that, we'll get a label and we'll put it here. I can make it big. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to change it. I don't need to change the name of the label, but I do need to change the text. Enter the year of birth. I'll enter your year of birth. And I'm going to put in, you know how they usually use this right here. And they put the Y's for the year. So here I have a label that says enter your year of birth. The other item that I need to enter is a text box for counting to text field, right? So I'm going to put that right there. And now this will have a name. I'm going to call it TXT date of birth, or yeah, text date of birth. I'll just leave it like that for now. So now this text field will have a name, and then I can now add a button to this. This says calculate age. So we'll put in here, we'll go to the inspector and we'll change the caption to calculate age. And we don't need to change the name of the button because it's not going to I'm not going to use it in a formula or anything. Only the one for the text field. So now we need code because this is not going to do anything by itself. So again, we double click on calculate, we click on press, and what do we want? So calculating the age for this year. And so we're going to do a variable d as date times equals date time dot now. What does this mean? That D has the current date and time at this moment, okay? We're also gonna do variable I as integer equals D dot year. D is the date time. I will have the year part right here of D, which is now. So basically I will have, if this is correct, if you're watching this in 2023, be 2023. So we are going to do another variable, J, as integer, and will be equals to the current year minus txt dot text dot to integer. Now, I'm not doing any validation, folks. I'm hoping that when you do a program like this, you do actually do validations. I'm not talking about validations right now. If I put in ABCD, obviously it's going to give me an error. It's going to give me a 0 or something. I don't know. The thing is, I'm not doing validations, okay? Message box, your age at the end of this year will be plus j dot to string, and we close it. All right, that's it. That's it. Let's run it. So here's my variables. Click me. Oh, wait a minute. There's an error. There's an error. Oh, look at this. All right, there we go. I'm terrible with my fingers, guys. All right, click me there. Go to the color. Let's select the color. And we'll do the 25500, red, bright red. Now we go to date and time. So let's say I was born, I don't know, 1990. Let's just say that. And I click calculate age. Your age at the end of this year will be 33. If I change this to 1980, it will be 43. Exit program. What do you think? Not bad, right? Decision making. Let's go to decisions. Again, I wanted to see what I could do here. And the first thing I thought about was asking for things and making decisions on that. But instead, we're going to do some checkboxes. So we'll go here, and here's my checkbox. We'll add 3 checkboxes. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to give them a name. This one will be CH1. And it will have the caption of A. This will be CH2. And it'll have the caption of B. And you guessed it, for the third one, CH3, and the caption of C. So we got 3 check boxes that I can check. Now, I'm going to have a button here. I decided to put a button that's going to say, we'll make the button big. And we'll go to the inspector and change the caption. We'll change the caption to select check boxes and then click me. There we go. And after that, we'll have 4 labels. And we'll put in them right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll make them big like that. So I got my 4 labels. And are they spaced equally? Something like that. We're going to give these name, by the way. The first one will be LBL, and the second will be LBL, or the third one will be LBL, all, and the last one will be LBL, none. So here's what I want the program to do. You select whatever checkboxes there are, and then you click this button, and these labels will change. So what is the code for this? The code for this is as follows. We're gonna go ahead and double click here. When press, what do I want? First, we're gonna declare 3 variables: bar A, B, variable declaration bar A, comma B, comma C as Boolean. That's the first thing we got to do. We have 3 variables. Now, I wanted to use some if then buttons. So if ch1.value equals or actually I don't even do if that, then A equals true, else A equals false, and if. So if is true, if is checked, A is true, right? And I'm gonna do some copy paste here. Copy, and I'm gonna change it for 2. And obviously I'm gonna do B and B. And then I'm gonna do this for the third one as well. And this will be for C and for C. Okay, so we now have assigned values to A, B, and C. If they're checked, we give them the values. Now, if A and B, and remember A and B both are Boolean, then what I do? Well, LBL and dot text equals checkboxes A and B are checked. Else, and I'm just gonna copy and paste, and I'm just gonna say either checkbox A or B are not checked, and if. That is the first label. Now we're gonna do the or. So I'm gonna copy this. And I'm gonna say here, if A or B, LBA or checkbox A or B is checked. Otherwise, obviously, that means that or neither checkbox A or B are checked, right? What if we want to make sure, well, what about for the all? So if A and B and C, these all have to be true, then the LBL all will be all check boxes are checked. Otherwise, at least one checkbox is not checked. Now, finally, this one is a little more complicated. If not A and not B and not C. Aha. And look at that. And we'll say, copy this. LBL none. All check boxes are cleared. Else at least one is checked. Well, hopefully, if we have no syntax errors, I declare three variables as Boolean. I assign the values depending on whether checkboxes 1, 2, and 3 are checked. And then I make some comparisons for and, or, for all, or for none. Not A, not B, and not C is none. Let's see if I have syntax errors. Yeah, of course I do. There we go. And here's the first syntax error. I need an extra parentheses because I have this. Okay, so click me. Boom, there we go. We go to color. Click me. We'll instead of this, we'll select, I don't know, something like that. Oh, go to date time. I'm going to say that I was born in 1985. Wow, 38, not bad. And now we go to decisions. If I select A, either A or B are not checked. Checkbox A or B is checked, which is correct. At least one checkbox is not checked. I know we have two. And at least one checkbox is checked, which is that one. If I don't select any, all checkboxes are cleared. If I select all of them, all boxes are checked. If I uncheck this one is not, but A and B are checked. And of course, A or B. And if I do B only, this one goes to not, and this one's a true. And that is how you make decisions in real life. How about that? Other than the syntax errors, I think my logic is on where it should be. So here it is again. Checkbox 1 gives the value to A, checkbox 2 to B, and checkbox 3 to C. And then we have our ands and ors and then of course we want all of the ands. We can combine more than one or two. And here I was missing a parenthesis, but obviously you have in parentheses. Then we have the nots. The not something obviously is the opposites. And when we combine them with the ands, that means none of them are checkbox. So not bad, not bad. Finally, before our program is concluded, we'll we'll have a loop. And this one's pretty simple. We'll add a label. It'll tell the user what to do. And we'll tell the user, say, enter a number from 1 to 10. Again, I'm not validating, okay? So I'm gonna trust that we put in the right one. You see this text alignment, I can do it right. And now I have it aligned to the right. In case you were wondering how that's done, see, it's pretty simple. We'll go ahead and add a text box. And the text box will have a name, which is txt count. Oh, txt count. There we go. So now we have a name. The reason I'm giving this a name, because obviously I'm going to obtain the value from this text box. I don't care what this label says. I want to know what the user puts in here. And of course, we need a button. And we'll put it right here. And we don't need to give it a name, but we do type the word execute. Okay. And we got to display the information somewhere. So we'll use a text field, I think. Yeah, we'll put a text field here, and we'll just do something like that. And we'll call the text field. We know we have the name, by the way. It's called text field one, and I think we can leave it as that. That doesn't really matter. So what happens when we execute? Let's go to the execute and press. And I'm not gonna put it. I'm just gonna say text field one dot text equals blank. So when they click execute, the first thing it's gonna do is erase whatever's in the text field. Then I'm gonna do for I as integer. Yes, you can do that here, just like in other languages. Equals 0 to, I'm starting from 0, the index, the natural index, txt count dot text dot to integer minus 1, and I'm going to do text field 1 dot text equals text field 1 dot text plus end of line. Actually, before I do the end of line, I can do plus hello world, and we'll do plus end of line. I just want to use different things that you can do here, and we'll do next I, which is optional, by the way. So I'm saying, look, whatever happens, you blank it out, you increase, you put the word hello world, and you end of line, meaning carries return, right? So go to window one, let's run it. Yeah, no syntax errors this time. How about that? Here's my first program to check my variables. I click, work perfect. Color, I'm going to select a color. This time, yeah, go to the sliders. We'll go to green. That's bright green. We'll leave it there. I was born this time in 1991. Yeah, I'm 32. Decision making, so I'm going to select B. There's my decisions. Loops, and I'm going to put the number 5, execute, and I should see 5 times the word hello world. And that is how you go from variables, colors, date and time, decisions, and loops. And I'm going to exit. Again, the word quit will end a program. To do the integers, to declare what with the word var. Obviously, we have integers, doubles, strings, and booleans, and I can do calculations. To obtain the values, you get the text part of an element, which is the label of text, doesn't really matter. And you use the word to integer or to double, right? If you make decisions, you can assign them with the true or false for booleans. And then the same way to put in a value that is an integer, you do the integer or the double and you put it to string. And another way of doing if statements is with this. This is a shortcut to doing if statements. It returns a value, whether it's true or false in this case, depending on the value of B. B is evaluated. For colors, the main thing here was selected from dialog. When you do color, select a variable, and of course, C is right here. C is of a type of color, right? Var as color. So then I give it an initial value, but otherwise C is selected from here and it's given to an object. And it could be to anything. I could have done a label, and give it this color one. For ages, we declare things as daytime. Again, another special type of variable in Xojo. And then I can actually do, once I have that, and I give the date time that now, meaning right now in this moment, then the year part will give me an integer, right? It's an integer. And I could have done the month, I could have done the day, I could have done all these things. This one, obviously, we have 3 variables as Boolean, right? The checkbox one value will determine the value of A. the checkbox to value the value of B, and so on for C. And then we have our and or, depending if A and B, this, otherwise do that. If A or B, do this or do that. If all three are true, do this. If all three are false, then do this, right? And finally, here's my for loop. Here's a for. And there's obviously whiles, there's for eaches and all these different types of loops. I just wanted to use this one. Again, the main purpose of this little exercise was to build a small program that was not Hello World. They will give us a little like an introduction, kind of like, look, this is all you can do, and this is just the entrance. You can do so much more, right? You can do so much more. You can do so many things with this. There it is. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this program. I hope you like Xojo. I'm going to be doing more Xojo programs here. I'm already planning. The next video will be in Xojo that I'll do. Will probably be on different types of sorting, right? The type of sorts. And I'll tell you right. I'm going to just give you a preview. I'm going to do different sorts and the speeds to see which sort is better, depending on what you're sorting, of course. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give this video a like, subscribe, follow me. I'm not doing this for money. It just makes me feel better, all right? You guys have a good night, and until the next video.